Okay, so let's look at a lesson on modifying budgets. So here's where we're going to take budgets and figure out what can be done to change budgets to fit a certain amount of money that we have available to spend. As a quick warm up, let's talk about income, right? So you can't have a budget unless you know how much money you're going to be spending. So here you're starting a full-time job and earning a salary of $40,000 a year. Your weekly take-home pay will be about $590, and you'll be working 50 weeks this year. Explain why your weekly take-home pay is only $590. So this is important to know that if I have a $40,000 yearly salary and I'm working for 50 weeks to make that salary, because there's 52 weeks in a year, but 2 weeks of vacation. So I'm going to take this 40,000 divided by 50 weeks, right? And so every week, if I divide those two numbers, I'm going to be earning $800. So $800 per week. However, we're told that we only take home about 590. So why is our weekly take-home pay less than 800? Right? Where's all that other money missing or going? Well, you have to be aware of, you have taxes, right? So taxes may take a big chunk of your money. Maybe there's some retirement savings, right? And so in Canada, we have something called the Canada Pension Plan, CPP. So some of your money, your salary would go to that. And then sometimes we have something called employment insurance, which means if you lose your job, you still get some money to help you until you find your next job. And employment insurance, abbreviated EI. And so that's a little pot of money we contribute to as a population in Canada through our deductions from our pay. So we lose some money for some social benefits that benefits all of us. So that from $800 per week, we take home $590 for us to spend. Okay. Well, so what is our average monthly take home pay? So um, if we looked at, okay, I make 590 per week. So let's take 590 per week. Well, if I multiply that by 50 weeks, my total yearly take home then would be a total of 29,500. So it's from the $40,000, we only take home 29,500. Now, what is that? That's a yearly month, so yearly, right? But what is that as a monthly take home pay, right? So if I have 12 months in a year, I can take my yearly number and divide that by 12. And my monthly take home pay would then be $2,458.33. Okay. And from that, then you'd have to pay all of your expenses. So let's review what are some expenses that you might have to pay once you finish school and you have a job. Well, you have some fixed expenses. So fixed expenses are the expenses that usually don't change from month to month, or they change very, very little. Okay, so some fixed expenses could be things like rent. Okay, or if you own a house, maybe you have to pay a mortgage. Okay, maybe you have a cell phone bill that doesn't change from month to month. Okay, unless you have minutes or you pay for long distance minutes, and maybe it will change. Okay, maybe an internet bill or TV bill. Okay, subscriptions that you pay for. So Netflix account or something like that. Um, gas, furnace, your home furnace, electricity, water, right? Some of them. Well, that depends on certain things. Maybe this could be a variable expense. Well, okay, so let's since not always it's going to be a fixed expense, but let's just call it. Let's just take it off then for now. So, what are some variable expenses? So, well, let's put electricity and water as variable expenses because um, even though you might consistently use the same amount of water, shower once a day or whatever, that could change from month to month. Electricity could change from month to month, especially if you're using an air conditioner in the summer. That consumes more electricity, or if you're, spending electricity using the oven, that can consume a lot, some months and less than on other months. Okay. So other variable expenses, these are expenses again that change from month to month that are not always the same number. Okay, so your food bill could be a variable expense, right? So depending on how much you eat in a restaurant, you could change your a monthly spend expense on that, or how much groceries you buy, Or if there's less, maybe some months there's more sales of food that you like to eat, and other months there are not. So your food bill could change from month to month to month. So variable expenses are those expenses that change quite frequently from month to month. If you drive a car, maybe your gas bill, right? If you drive a car, you also have fixed expenses too, like a car payment or insurance. So those are usually fixed expenses. So I'll include them here. All right. So those are just some examples. Now I want you to think about your own examples and just add to the list. Okay. So what's the difference again? What's between fixed and variable? So fixed expenses uh, do not change, or they change very little. And then variable expenses are expenses that change amounts from month to month. Okay, so we have that. Okay, so let's look at a budget this time. So let's look at a budget now. You have an example here. We're going to compare this budget of the original household budget and the modified budget shown. So what are some possible explanations for the change in expenses? So for this person, they're paying originally $2,000 a month in housing. Once they change their budget, well, it's still $2,000. In general, that's something that's hard to change unless you move locations, change addresses. We can see here that the food goes originally from 1,200 down to 800. Okay. We see the transportation costs go from 1,000 to 800. Okay. And their savings goes from 400 to 1,000. Ah, so what could be happening here? Well, maybe they've experienced some change in life circumstances, right? Maybe there is maybe they had an adult child who's moved out of the house, so now the household budget is spending less on food, right? So uh, maybe less people in household to consume food, so the food budget for that household is now $400 less, right? And $400 could be a monthly spend on someone's consumption of food if you eat lots of meats or some expensive foods, right? Um, Transportation costs for the household have gone down. Okay, so went from $1,000 to $800. So maybe they could have uh, changed from car to public transport, or maybe a change of job that meant that if they changed the job, less they found a job that's closer to home, right? Less distance to travel. Or maybe if it was an adult son or daughter who left the house, maybe you weren't driving them around anymore. So maybe that also contributes to um, a change in transport costs. And then savings goes up. Wow, they're able to save $600 more every month because maybe, well, for one thing, they're spending $400 less on food and $200 less on transportation costs. So that means you have plus $600 left from your income, and that could go towards savings. Okay, so the point of this lesson is to really look at how can we understand how we change budgets to meet different or changing circumstances. Okay, so let's look at another example. So here's based on the same $40,000 annual salary, Anthony created this monthly budget. What advice would you give Anthony? Okay, so he has a series of expenses here, right? 900 for a one-bedroom apartment. They have to pay insurance for that apartment that they're renting, utilities. They have to pay for their data plan, internet, paying for cable. Maybe they're watching sports and movies. Oh, maybe they have a student loan they have to pay. Maybe they take public transit and need the bus pass, and maybe they need to maintain health and good fitness, so they have a gym membership. Right. So these are monthly. This is their monthly budget for fixed expenses. These are expenses that don't generally change. Right. So take a moment, add them up, pause the video, and then come back and tell me how much is that total fixed expense. Okay, So if we had a chance to look at those, and if you add them up, a total monthly expense of $1,655 is what they spend on monthly expenses for fixed expenses. Now, if you look at their variable expenses, we look at, okay, well, groceries are spending about $500 a month. So these are nice round numbers because we don't know how much exactly they're spending. Maybe it's not a full 500, but they budget for it. That's their plan. They have to set aside, make sure they have enough money to cover the groceries. Restaurants, okay, maybe they enjoy a nice restaurant outing once or twice a month for $100. A little clothing budget of $100 when you need to replace worn out shoes or pants or shirts. We get some new fashion, okay, and a little bit of an entertainment, see a show, movie, go out to amuse yourself, $200 a month for that budget. And then in total, we have a total of 500 plus 200 is 700 plus 200 more is $900 in variable expenses. Okay, so when you add the fixed expenses plus the variable expenses, you reach a total of 1655 plus 900 equals $2,555. Now, if you look at that's their total monthly budget. But remember, this is the same $40,000 annual salary we did in the beginning in our warm up. So if we look at that, what is the weekly or the monthly take home pay is $2,458.33. 2,000. So they take home 2,400. I forgot the number. 2,000. What was it exactly? $2,458.33. $200,458.33. So they don't have enough money to afford their lifestyle, their monthly budget. So here's where you have to make a suggestion. What do they do to modify their budget so that they can afford everything that they need to pay for, right? So the difference between the current budget and the amount of money to take home is just $2,555 minus $2,458.33. So if I subtract $2,458.33 from that budgeted amount, we're missing $96.67. So I need to get rid of $100 a month somewhere in the budget. Okay. So where could you take that from? Well, some of these fixed expenses you can't change, right? Like this rent is locked in, right? To move to a different address could change the entire budget. So let's say the rent is locked in. Well, you got to have insurance for your possessions. Renter's insurance usually is a requirement. Utilities, well, you have to have heat and water and electricity. Okay. Cell phone plan, maybe there's something that could be changed there. $95, maybe find something cheaper. $60 seems like a pretty decent price for internet. $100, there's another question mark you could consider, but maybe we need it, maybe it's important. Loans, you can't get out of paying your loans, you got to pay that. You got to have a bus pass to get to work. And well, maybe a gym membership. $30 isn't that much, but you could question, maybe I can do a workout outside or at home, perhaps. I don't know. But if you leave the fixed expenses alone, you can look at the variable expenses and see what you can cut from there. Groceries you need to eat, right? So maybe $500 is, important to budget for. Okay. Restaurants. So there is something that you could probably cut if you need to, right? Why do you need to go to a restaurant? Just cook your own food at home. You spend $500 on groceries. Eat at home. Clothing. I mean, sometimes necessary to replace a few worn items, so have a budget for that. Entertainment. Well, there's another one that you could possibly cut back on. Instead of $200, why not just do $100 of entertainment a month, right? And that way you can afford everything you budgeted for. Okay. So you have to look at, okay, what can you suggest that we could change? Maybe looking for a better cell phone plan. That won't quite get me to the $100 I need. Maybe we can look at cutting the cable. Maybe not. Okay. But probably something from here. Maybe taking the restaurant budget down, taking the entertainment budget down a bit. It can get your budget to a more affordable number, right? That's the goal here, $2,458. Okay, so in your work, your practice, you're going to be looking at different budget scenarios and making recommendations on how to change the budget to fit the scenario. Okay, and later on, you'll be asked to create your own budget for a scenario, but what might it look like when maybe you're finished school. Okay, so that's it. That's the end of this video.